Today, we're diving into why parents often have less patience with their own kids compared to others. Parents, you're putting in the work, day in and day out, and sometimes it feels like you're running on fumes. Stay tuned to find out the reasons behind this common phenomenon and how to deal with it. Let's be real, folks. You've got high hopes for your kids. You want them to be successful, polite, and all-around good people. You've got dreams. But here's the kicker. When those expectations aren't met, frustration sets in. You might think, come on, kiddo, you know better than this, and bam, your fuse gets a whole lot shorter. Now, I'm not saying you should lower your standards. You've got to have high hopes for your kids, but remember, they're still learning and growing. They're going to make mistakes.
The key is to adjust your expectations and understand that their missteps aren't always a personal attack on your parenting skills. Think about it this way, you don't expect your neighbor's kid to act perfectly, right? You cut them some slack. So why not extend that same grace to your own flesh and blood? It's about finding that balance between having high hopes and giving them the space to stumble and learn.
And let's be honest, sometimes our expectations are a little out of whack. We push, thinking it's for their own good.
You want the best for your kids. But sometimes the best thing you can do is to take a step back, adjust those expectations, and give them a little breathing room. Trust me, it'll make a world of difference in your relationship.
Let's face it, parents, you're with your kids a lot. From the moment they wake up to the moment you tuck them in, it's pretty much non-stop. Now, I'm all for family time, but even the strongest bonds can get a little strained with that much togetherness.
Think about it. When you're around anyone, even people you love dearly, for extended periods of time, those little quirks and habits that you normally brush off can start to grate on your nerves. It's human nature, and let's not forget about the constant demands on your time and attention.
So, what's the solution? Well, for starters, carve out some time for yourself. Even if it's just 15 minutes to decompress with a cup of coffee or take a walk around the block. A little bit of space can go a long way in restoring your patience and sanity. Let's talk about emotions, folks. As parents, you're emotionally invested in your children in a way that you'll never be with anyone else. It's a love like no other, but it also means that the stakes are higher. Their triumphs feel like your triumphs, but their setbacks, man, those can feel like gut punches. When your child messes up, it's natural to feel a surge of disappointment, frustration, or even anger.
It's like this. Imagine your heart is a glass jar. Every time your child does something that makes you proud, you get to drop a marble of joy into that jar. But when they act up or disappoint you, it's like someone's chucking a rock in there. Those rocks can add up fast, and eventually that jar is going to overflow. That overflow, that's when you lose your cool.
So, what can you do about it? Well, first you've got to acknowledge those emotions. Don't try to bottle them up or pretend they're not there. Talk to your partner, a friend, or a therapist about what you're going through. Sometimes just saying it out loud can make a world of difference. Chapter 4. The pressure is on. Parents, let's talk about pressure. You've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're responsible for shaping these little humans into decent, functioning members of society. No big deal, right?
But seriously, the pressure to raise happy, successful kids is immense. You're constantly bombarded with messages about what you should be doing, what you should be buying, and how you should be parenting. It's enough to make anyone crack.
And let's not forget about the financial burden. Kids are expensive. From diapers and daycare to college funds and extracurricular activities, the costs just keep piling up.
All of this pressure can take a toll on your patience. When you're stressed out and overwhelmed, it's harder to stay calm and collected when your kid is having a meltdown in the middle of the grocery store or refusing to eat their vegetables for the 100th time.
So, what's the solution? First and foremost, give yourself a break. You're not perfect, and that's okay. No one has this parenting thing figured out completely. Ask your partner, family members, or friends for help when you need it. Remember that your worth as a parent isn't tied to your child's success or failures. Chapter 5. It adds up. Let's talk about stress, folks. The kind of stress that slowly builds up over time, like a pressure cooker about to blow. Parenting is full of these little stresses.
It's the constant cleaning, the never-ending laundry, the meal planning, the homework battles, the sibling squabbles. It's enough to make anyone want to scream into a pillow.
Now, you might think you're handling it all like a champ. You're putting on a brave face, pushing through the exhaustion and telling yourself that it's just a phase. But here's the thing about stress. It has a way of sneaking up on you.
1 minute you're laughing at your kid's silly joke, and the next minute you're snapping at them for leaving their shoes in the middle of the living room. Again.
The truth is, all those little stresses, day after day, take their toll. Your fuse gets shorter, your patience wears thin, and suddenly you're the parent you swore you'd never be.
Let's be real, folks. Kids are smart. They know exactly who they can be their true, unfiltered selves around. And 9 times out of 10, it's their parents. They save all their pent-up energy, their wildest emotions, and their most testing behaviors for the people they trust the most. Think about it. At school or with friends, they have to follow certain rules and expectations. They're expected to be on their best behavior. But at home with you, they can let their guard down. They can be silly, they can be grumpy, they can be their most authentic selves. Now, on the one hand, it's a beautiful thing. It means they feel safe and loved unconditionally. But on the other hand, it can be downright exhausting for parents. It's like they're constantly on when they're with their kids, having to navigate tantrums, meltdowns, and endless demands. And let's not forget about the testing of boundaries. Kids are naturally curious and want to push the limits to see what they can get away with. So what's a parent to do? Set clear boundaries and expectations. Let them know what behavior is acceptable and what's not. And be consistent with your consequences.
Let's be honest, folks, parenting is exhausting. It's physically demanding, emotionally draining, and mentally taxing. You're constantly on call, 24/7, with little to no breaks. It's like having a job where you never get to clock out. You're up early making breakfast, packing lunches, and getting everyone ready for their day. Then you're juggling work, errands, and household chores, all while trying to be present and attentive to your children's needs. And just when you think you can finally collapse on the couch and catch your breath, it's time to start the bedtime routine.
But here's the thing about fatigue. It affects every aspect of your being. When you're tired, your patience wears thin. Your fuse gets shorter. You're more likely to snap at your kids, make impulsive decisions, and feel overwhelmed by the smallest things.
So, what's the solution? Prioritize sleep. Even if you can't get a full 8 hours, try to sneak in a nap when you can, or establish a relaxing bedtime routine for yourself. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Delegate tasks to your partner, family members, or friends. You can't pour from an empty cup, folks. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, let me tell you, parenting can sometimes feel like living in that definition. It's the same battles, day in and day out. The homework struggles, the bedtime resistance, the constant picking up of toys and clothes. It's enough to drive anyone batty. You try different tactics, you set boundaries, you make deals, but somehow you always end up back at square one.
The thing is, kids thrive on routine. They find comfort in predictability, even if it means pushing your buttons in the process. They know which buttons to push, how hard to push them, and what they can get away with.
So, what's a parent to do? Except that some level of repetition is just part of the parenting gig. You're going to have to repeat yourself a lot. But here's the key. Find ways to make the routine more bearable for both of you. Turn homework time into a game. Create a fun bedtime routine that you both look forward to. Thanks for watching. Look, parenting is a tough job, but it's also the most rewarding job in the world. Cut yourself some slack, embrace the chaos, and remember that you're not alone in this journey. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content. See you next time.